There are 4 different endings, maybe 4.5, to the Phantom Liberty expansion of Cyberpunk, and now that I've had a chance to see them all, well, we've got a lot to talk about. In this video, we're going to explore every ending to Phantom Liberty and decide once and for all, what is the best ending to Cyberpunk 2077? There are 2 major decision points during Phantom Liberty's main story. During the Firestarter mission while Songbird is hacking the mainframe, you can either help Songbird escape or betray her and give her over to Reed. Each of these choices splits into a different final quest, and each of those missions also end with a major decision. So let's explore each path through the ending, and we'll start by siding with Songbird. In this case, Alex kills Kurt Hansen, and Songbird helps us fight through the remainder of Hansen's goons. After escaping the stadium and waiting for a few days, Songbird will contact V and share her plan to reach a black market doctor located on the moon. This quest sees us infiltrating the Night City spaceport and trying to sneak Somi through security. But of course, Reed and Myers crash the party with a bunch of NUSA soldiers, and we'll have to fight our way through all of them to clear out the tram station. On the shuttle ride over to the spaceship, to Songbird's final destination, she reveals that, surprise, surprise, she's betrayed us as well. Who could have possibly seen that coming? I'll admit, I was kinda down bad for Songbird, so I really wanted to believe that she would help us out. But this chick was basically a walking red flag the entire time. She betrayed Reed, she betrayed Myers, she betrayed Hansen, so did we really expect that she wouldn't backstab us as well? Basically, the cure that she was securing was single-use only, so Songbird was always going to take the only dose, so to speak, and leave us out to dry. At this point, you can either carry Songbird to the space shuttle, or call Reed and hand her over to the feds. If you decide to take Songbird to the shuttle, you'll discover that Reed is already waiting for us. There is no way to talk Reed down during this conversation. The only way forward is to either hand over Songbird or shoot Reed. Every other outcome leads to Reed flatlining you. If we kill Reed and put Songbird on the shuttle, then we're basically back at square one. V gets no cure, and we're left to explore our options inside Arasaka Tower. If we hand Songbird over, then Reed will promise to hook us up with NUSA doctors who can perform a surgery to remove the relic safely. And this ending is substantially different than all the others, so we'll touch on that later in the video. We can also hand Songbird over to Reed and take nothing in return. This is kind of a hybrid between the one where we put Songbird on the shuttle and the one where we help Reed bring her into the NUSA, which is why I say there are 4.5 endings to Phantom Liberty. But let's roll back the clock to the Firestarter mission and see what happens when we betray Songbird in the stadium. This path leads basically to the bad endings of the DLC in my opinion. For starters, Songbird detects our betrayal and goes absolutely batshit, utilizing the black wall to blast her way out of the stadium and slip our grasp. This also tips off Hansen that something's wrong, and he kills Alex up in the skybox. And this time when we're escaping the stadium, Hansen catches us and kicks off the most annoying boss fight in the entire game. There are 2 phases to this shindig. In phase 1, Hansen attacks with an LMG, and it's fairly easy to whittle down his health however you see fit. But once he gets to around 60% health, he enters phase 2, which has a couple of really obnoxious gimmicks. For starters, he has this knife throw attack, which if he lands it, triggers an unavoidable melee attack animation, which carves off a huge chunk of health. But the more annoying one is his grab attack, which if he lands it, also triggers an unavoidable melee strike that carves off 50 to 75% of your health on normal difficulty. It also applies a debuff, which prevents you from healing for like 20 seconds. Oh, and he pretty much only does melee during this second phase, so he just relentlessly chases you the entire time. You can kinda kite him around the pillars to buy yourself time to heal or get some shots off, but goddamn, this fight was really annoying. Anyhow, after you finish off Hansen, you'll see Songbird get captured by MaxTac. So Reed hatches a plan to ambush a MaxTac convoy to take Songbird into custody. You'll need to work with a netrunner to learn the convoy route, and I decided to go with Sandra Dorset for this task. After ambushing the convoy and taking out MaxTac's goons, Songbird will unsurprisingly give you the slip and tear through the neighborhood, landing herself inside the Sinosure mainframe facility. And I think this next mission is going to be very divisive amongst the fan base. It's basically a survival horror mission where all of your usual combat abilities are rendered completely useless for an arbitrary reason. You have to play hide and go seek with a giant killer robot, and if you're discovered, it's instant death. I'm not a fan of horror games, and this part was super stressful, to be honest. I commend CDPR for trying something new with this mission, but I absolutely hated it. Anyhow, once you finally disable the mainframe, you can gain access to the core, where Songbird has hooked herself up to a machine. She's barely clinging to life and asks you to kill her so she doesn't get captured by the NUSA. If you kill Songbird, it's pretty much the worst ending. In the aftermath, you watch the NUSA haul off her corpse, Myers threatens to throw you into jail but then gives you a measly 5,000 credits for your prior work, and Reed is super depressed with the whole thing. Oh, and you don't get the cure either. If you refuse to kill Songbird instead, then Reed comes through and takes her away. You still get the shuttle scene with Myers, but this time you get a medal and 30,000 credits. And obviously Songbird is still alive, so the NUSA takes her to a medical facility, and we later learn that they basically put her back into service under Myers. It's basically a prison sentence for Songbird, but I see it as the lesser of two evils in this scenario. Songbird is in her early 30s, and even if things are really bad for her in the near future, there's always the possibility that she escapes the NUSA at some point. Myers could get removed from power or decide to release her. Any number of things could happen, but if you kill Songbird, then she's just gone. No second chances or anything, it's just the end for her. And speaking of the end, let's talk about the new finale to Cyberpunk 2077, where Reed and the NUSA hook us up with a cure. This ending has been very divisive among the fanbase from what I've seen on Reddit discussions so far. After giving Songbird over to Reed, he'll reach out in a few days and give you the option to go to a NUSA clinic for surgery. Their doctors are confident that they can remove the relic, but not without destroying it in the process, which means Johnny will get wiped with this surgery. You'll head back up to the roof of Misty's and talk things over with Johnny, and you can either ignore Reed's help and pursue one of the endings from the base game, or call Reed and have him order a shuttle to the clinic. Taking the shuttle leads to a really sad final conversation with Johnny on the shuttle ride over. After playing Cyberpunk for the past 3 years, I've grown attached to Johnny's character, so I felt really bad taking this outcome. And interestingly, it plays the same song from Jackie's final moments in the car at the end of the heist, which I thought was a nice touch.
Good old Night City. Most reliable of late capitalism's human meat grinders. Survived it once. Too well to remember that, if you're ever tossed back in again.
I suggest you try to keep Mr. Wells conscious.
We'll be getting preem jobs left and right now. Hear me, Jack?
You're gonna be rich, mijo. I can feel it.
The docs will notice V is getting emotional, so they'll hit you with a sedative, and this is the last time we ever speak with Johnny. After fading to black, we awake in an NUSA clinic with Reed standing over us. He looks kinda sad, so I was fully expecting him to tell us the surgery didn't work, kinda like the Arasaka ending. But to my surprise, the surgery did work. V actually gets an ending where you survive the game. But survival comes at a steep cost. For starters, in a Mass Effect 2 Project Lazarus style twist, we learn that we've been in a coma for 2 years. It's now 2079. Oh, I should also mention that when you're on the rooftop making the choice of whether to call Reed or not, you're given the option to text your loved ones about the decision you're about to make. Not call them, like the base game endings, just text them. And the text options are super vague. Like you basically just say, hey, I'm leaving Night City for a minute, BRB, just before disappearing for 2 years. So in the 2 years that followed, your close friends or romantic partners from the base game have just been left completely in the dark about what happened to you. And just like Mass Effect 2, most of them move on with their lives. In my playthrough, I was in a romance with Judy, but after calling her, I learned she got married to some other chick and moved to Pittsburgh. Carrie Uridine is on tour at the Crystal Palace and doesn't have time for us. Pan Am doesn't pick up the phone, and I wasn't given the option to call River for some reason. I definitely did his quest and saved his nephew, but I did turn him down for romance, so maybe it makes sense that I can't call him. So basically, every tie you had from the base game, every romantic relationship or friendship, doesn't stand the test of time. In the end, V survives, but at the cost of losing everyone else close in his or her life. I think this is the biggest reason why people are upset with this new ending. It's not a happy ending where you get a magic cure and get to live the rest of your life with your bae. No, you lose everything in the process, including your combat abilities. Reed also tells us that the surgery was more invasive and taxing on our nervous system than the doctors initially expected. So they had to deactivate all of our cybernetic implants, and we'll never be able to use combat implants again. So it's a no-go for continuing our life as a Major League Merc. There's one last person we can call on for help, and it's good old Victor. He agrees to meet with us at his clinic, which has now been taken over by the Zetatech Corporation. Misty's tarot card shop is no more, and Victor seems pretty depressed about the way things have turned out for him. You can either berate him for selling out, or basically be like, yeah dude, I get it. Unfortunately, Victor cannot help you, and confirms what you already knew. No more combat implants for B. To add insult to injury, you get mugged by a couple of goons on your way out of the clinic, and you're unable to effectively fight back because you're basically an NPC now. After getting shoved down a staircase, you wake up to find Misty, who tells you she's leaving Night City to become a Witcher in Poland.
Where are you going?
Orbital air terminal. Then to Poland. To this really ancient forest there.
And the game ends with V walking around as just another face in the crowd in Night City. So I know a lot of people hate this ending, and I totally get it. But I actually really like this ending myself. So hear me out for a second. Yes, it absolutely sucks that you lose your romance. Especially with the ridiculous way your departure from Night City is handled. Seriously, a BRB text? To me, it's completely unfathomable that you wouldn't call your significant other and let them know the details about your upcoming serious surgery. No shot. I could maybe believe that the NUSA wouldn't contact them and let them know you're in a coma because state secrets or some shit. But it's completely implausible that V wouldn't have a serious goodbye conversation on the phone or in person before going under the knife. It's just ridiculous. I think it would have been much more believable if your partner just abandoned you after the surgery. Like, hey, listen, I waited for you for a while, but the NUSA wouldn't tell me what happened to you, and after more than a year, I just lost hope, mourned your loss, and moved on. I know a lot of players would still hate this regardless because it's not a happy ending, but the Cyberpunk genre isn't known for happy endings. Most protagonists in Cyberpunk stories wind up dead, so I don't think a fairy tale ending would have suited this game. And despite losing everything, there's still a tremendous potential for hope in this new ending. Here's what I like about it most. This ending is all about what you make of it, and the dialogue options express that. You can wallow in self-pity, complain about being so alone, and mourn that your life is over. Or you could look at this as a second lease on life. You can't go back to your old life, your old friends, your old lovers, but you can forge a new path for yourself. You can leave Night City and make a new life in the countryside, or maybe open up a small business and put together a humble living. But I thought about what my V would do, a street kid from Haywood with dreams of hitting the major leagues. What do many athletes do when their bodies can no longer compete or handle the pressure of professional sports? They turn to coaching. So I decided that my V was here in Night City to stay and would become a fixer.
You know what? I think you're right. No point in giving up. Maybe... Don't know, I'll be a fixer. Gonna stay in NC. Do what I do best. Start over. No idea what's gonna happen, but I refuse to be beat.
You really are unbreakable, V.
Every ending in Cyberpunk 2077 leads to imminent death for V, but this new ending in Phantom Liberty gives V a chance to hope for a different future. It costs us a lot: our combat prowess, our career, our friends and loved ones. But in the end, we can live, and it's up to us to decide what meaning our life has moving forward. There's another little detail I like from the end of this conversation with Misty. At the beginning of Act 2, after Dex shot us in the head, Victor fished out the bullet during surgery, and Misty turned it into a necklace for us, which V carries for the rest of the journey. So Misty asks if we still have the necklace, but V realizes she misplaced it. So the last relic from her past life is completely gone. I wouldn't necessarily say this is my favorite ending in the whole game. I still have a soft spot for the ending where Johnny and Rogue storm Arasaka Tower, but then Johnny gives the body back to V in the end. There's something alluring about the tragic figure who truly made it to the major leagues, achieving all the wealth and fame as a merc that our character ever dreamed of, but lost everything in the process. Lost our lover, lost Johnny, and in the end lost our own life. I'm also kind of partial to that ending because it's the first one I experienced. But ultimately, I have to say that the new ending where V lives but loses everything is the best ending to Phantom Liberty. So there you have it. We've taken a look at every ending in Phantom Liberty and settled on the best one. But I'm sure that many of you will have opinions on these endings as well, so let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to Big Dan Gaming for more Cyberpunk and RPG videos. Big shout out to all the channel members for supporting my content. Until next time, this has been Big Dan. I should go.